الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. إن الأبرار لفي نعيم على الأرائك ينظرون تعرف في وجوههم نضرة النعيم يسقون من رحيق مختوم ختامه مسك وفي ذلك فليتنافس المتنافسون ومزاجه من تسنيم عينا يشرب بها المقربون إن الذين أجرموا كانوا من الذين آمنوا يضحكون وإذا مروا بهم يتغامزون وإذا انقلبوا إلى أهلهم انقلبوا فكهين وإذا رأوهم قالوا إن هؤلاء لضالون وما أرسلوا عليهم حافظين فاليوم الذين آمنوا من الكفار يضحكون على الأرائك ينظرون هل ثوب الكفار ما كانوا يفعلون. الله
أكبر.
سمع الله لمن حمده
ربنا ولك الحمد.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. حميم. تنزيل من الرحمن الرحيم. كتاب فصلت آياته قرآنا عربيا لقوم يعلمون. بشيرا ونذيرا فأعرض أكثرهم فهم لا يسمعون. وقالوا قلوبنا في أكنة مما تدعونا إليه وفي آذاننا وقر ومن بيننا وبينك حجاب فاعمل إننا عاملون. قل إنما أنا بشر مثلكم يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد فاستقيموا إليه واستغفروه. وويل للمشركين الذين لا يؤتون الزكاة وهم بالآخرة هم كافرون. إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم أجر غير ممنون. قل إنكم لتكفرون بالذي خلق الأرض في يومين وتجعلون له أندادا ذلك رب العالمين وجعل فيها رواسي من فوقها وبارك فيها وقدر فيها أقواتها في 4 أيام سواء للسائلين ثم استوى إلى السماء وهي دخان فقال لها وللأرض ائتيا طوعا أو كرها قالتا أتينا طائعين فقضاهن 7 سماوات في يومين وأوحى في كل سماء أمرها وزينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيح وحفظا ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم فإن أعرضوا فقل أنذرتكم صاعقة مثل صاعقة عاد وثمود إذ جاءتهم الرسل من بين أيديهم ومن خلفهم ألا تعبدوا إلا الله قالوا لو شاء ربنا لأنزل ملائكة فإنا بما أرسلتم به كافرون فأما عاد فاستكبروا في الأرض بغير الحق وقالوا من أشد منا قوة أولم يروا أن الله الذي خلقهم هو أشد منهم قوة وكانوا بآياتنا يجحدون فأرسلنا عليهم ريحا صرصرا في أيام نحسات لنذيقهم عذاب الخزي في الحياة الدنيا ولعذاب الآخرة أخزى وهم لا ينصرون وأما ثمود فهديناهم فاستحبوا العمى على الهدى فأخذتهم صاعقة العذاب الهون بما كانوا يكسبون ونجينا الذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون ويوم نحشر أعداء الله إلى النار فهم يوزعون حتى إذا ما جاءوها شهد عليهم سمعهم وأبصارهم وجلودهم بما كانوا يعملون وقالوا لجلودهم لم شهدتم علينا قالوا أنطقنا الله الذي أنطق كل شيء وهو خلقكم أول مرة وإليه ترجعون وما كنتم تستترون أن يشهد عليكم سمعكم ولا أبصاركم ولا جلودكم ولكن ظننتم أن الله لا يعلم كثيرا مما تعملون وذلكم ظنكم الذي ظننتم بربكم أرداكم فأصبحتم من الخاسرين فإن يصبروا فالنار مثوى لهم وإن يستعتبوا فما هم من المعتدين وقيضنا لهم قرناء فزينوا لهم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم وحق عليهم القول في قد خلت من قبلهم من الجن والإنس إنهم كانوا خاسرين وقال الذين كفروا لا تسمعوا لهذا القرآن والغوا فيه لعلكم تغلبون فلنذيقن الذين كفروا عذابا شديدا ولنجزينهم أسوأ الذي كانوا يعملون ذلك جزاء أعداء الله النار لهم فيها دار الخلد جزاء بما كانوا بآياتنا يجحدون وقال الذين كفروا ربنا أرنا الذين أضلانا من الجن والإنس نجعلهما تحت أقدامنا ربنا أرنا الذين أضلانا من الجن والإنس نجعلهما تحت أقدامنا ليكونا من الأسفلين إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون نحن أولياؤكم في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة ولكم فيها ما تشتهي أنفسكم ولكم فيها ما تدعون نزلا من غفور رحيم ومن أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى الله وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين ولا تستوي الحسنة ولا السيئة ادفع بالتي هي أحسن فإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم وما يلقاها إلا الذين صبروا وما يلقاها إلا ذو حظ عظيم وإما ينزغنك من الشيطان نزغ فاستعذ بالله إنه هو السميع العليم ومن آياته الليل والنهار والشمس والقمر لا تسجدوا للشمس ولا للقمر واسجدوا لله الذي خلقهن إن كنتم إياه تعبدون فإن استكبروا فالذين عند ربك يسبحون له بالليل والنهار وهم لا يسأمون ومن آياته أنك ترى الأرض خاشعة فإذا أنزلنا عليها الماء اهتزت وربت إن الذي أحياها لمحيي الموتى إنه على كل شيء قدير إن الذين يلحدون في آياتنا لا يخفون علينا أفمن يلقى في النار خير أم من يأتي
الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Inshallah, by Allah's permission, alhamdulillah, we're now entering into the course related to verbs. Related to verbs in the Arabic language. Verbs in the Arabic language are very essential, important for the students of the Arabic language to understand and comprehend. بعض العلماء والنحات والنحويين, some of the scholars of Arabic grammar, have described that sarf in itself is part of nahu, and some scholars have described as sarf, meaning the science of verbs, is a category by itself. But it's something that we find in nahu, and it's something that we find and learn about al-i'rab. Verbs. Verbs are very essential and important to understand and comprehend. وأقسام الكلام الاسم وفعل وحرف جاء بمعنى، فهذا القول من شيخ الجرمون كتاب الجرمية. This saying, the parts of speech, أقسام الكلام اسم وفعل وحرف جاء بمعنى, the parts of speech is ism, والفعل وحرف, and the harf come of its meaning. It's a statement we could find al-Jurumiyya in the Sharh al-Jurumiyya, the Sheikh, he written. And the scholars of grammar categorize Arabic parts of speech into three. And the first one, and the utmost, is ism, because you have more isms than anything else, or asma than anything else. Then you have al-fi'lu, verbs. Verbs are very essential and important, as I keep on saying. And you find that even some people who study Arabic language, who even out of themselves, they said one of the hardest thing to learn about Arabic, or the thing that the hardest is grammar. I mean, related to grammar is verbs, because the conjugation of verbs, and it's different type of verbs. And today we go into an introduction about verbs. For the Arabic student who is a non-Arabic speaker and who is learning the Arabic language, that verbs are very essential for him or her so they can understand the language. As I mentioned, the parts of speech, اسم وفعل وحرف جاء بمعنى وهذا قول في كتاب الرجرمية, and the statement could be found in the book of Al-Rujurumiyya and any other book in Arabic grammar. The parts of speech is 3. It has ism, then it has verbs. In Arabic language, most words, majority of the words are ism. And the majority or a large percentage of ism or asma, if you look at Arabiya, nouns, adjectives, they come from a verb. They come from a verb, derivative of a verb. For example, the word kitab, which means book. Its plural is khutub. And you have many other words like maktub, maktaba, qatib, kitaba, qatab. You have many words come from the word qataba, which comes from a past tense, which is a past tense verb, which is the root of this noun. So verbs are very essential because majority of the words that are ism, large percentage of them, they're coming from a verb. So most nouns, what we say in Arabic, al-masdar, wal-ism, wal-asma' aslu, al-asma' asluhu, al-fi'lu al-madi. The origin of it, of most nouns, words, most origin of these nouns is coming from a verb, which is the past tense verb. And I gave a good example. We have many other examples of many words in Arabic language that comes from verbs. Most any word comes from a verb. Muhammad, the name Muhammad, comes from the verb hammada. Tawheed, the word tawheed, it comes from the verb wahada. Wahada. Nidara, eyeglasses, come from the word nadara. Rajul, come from the verb rajala. All these words come from a verb. Bait, house, come from the verb bat or bata, which means he spent the night somewhere. Most all these words come from a verb, which is a past tense verb. So to show you the importance of verbs in Arabic grammar, in Arabic language, which is called as sarf. Sarf. The signs related to verbs is called in Arabic grammar sarf. And the conjugation of verbs are called a tasrif. Anybody go anywhere to learn about Arabic language, whether it's in the school overseas, whether it's a school here, you will learn about verbs and conjugating verbs and al-irab, grammatically analyzing verbs. As you see me was writing my notes, preparing for this lesson, you see me that I wrote al-fi'lu al-madi al-mabni wa fi'lu al-mudari mu'arab. This is part of al-irab. I'm breaking things down. Fi'lu al-madi mabni bi-fatha. The past tense verb is fixed with fatha. So when you go and study Arabic language, Arabic grammar in detail, you will learn these things. There's different forms of verbs. As we says in Al-Jurmiyya, al-aqsam al-kalam, ism wal-fi'l wa harf. Verbs itself are in 3 categories: past tense, present tense, future tense. So to begin this lesson, after this introduction, there's some terminology that you're going to see in the book related to verbs. You must understand the concept for every terminology and memorize the terminology. You must memorize the terminology. It's very important in Arabic grammar to understand the terminology, the rule, and know the name of the term. So first, we understand it is written here in Arabic made easy, and it's titled as al-fi'lu, al-fi'lu. This word is not plural, it is singular. The word is not plural, it is singular. But we know when we title things and when we translate things in Arabic into English, when we translate things, when we translate things, we have to put in the English language how we use and understand the English language. And this is why he made the word plural. Al-fi'lu means the verb, and this is not plural, it is singular. And its plural is called al-af'al. Al-af'al, which how we would go when we would see these things. So we're reading from Arabic Made Easy, lesson 23. Lesson 23. Arabic verbs are generally composed of 3 radicals. So now these 3 radicals are 3 patterns. Let's take a look at my notes. They made from 3 patterns. And I will highlight it. It's made from 3 patterns. Fa, ayn, and lam. These are the 3 letters that the verbs are made for. Fa, ayn, lam. Fa, ayn, lam. These are the 3 radicals, meaning 3 letters or 3 patterns. Fa, ayn, lam, which is example. When anything dealing with Arabic verbs, they're always going to use this pattern, these 3 letters, fa, ayn, and lam. When I want to teach you about the pattern, how the verb is written, how it look like, how the vowels are in it, what's the ending vowel, what can be attached to it, what can't be attached to it, what is to be an adding letter, taking away a letter. You're going to always use this example of these 3 letters, fa, ayn, and lam. Always. Fa, ayn, and lam. Always. You will always use these 3 letters to show you examples about patterns. As you notice, I use this, and you're going to find any book on Arabic grammar when it talks about patterns or how a verb is written, what are the vowels in the beginning, middle, or end, how many letters in it. You're going to always use these 3 letters as a pattern. And the book is written as a radical, meaning a pattern, an example that's being used. And does the word has a meaning? This verb has a meaning. Fa'ala means he did. It means in Arabic, he did. But this is the example pattern that is used in every book in Arabic grammar when we want to teach you about verbs. It means he did. And al-fi'lu means the verb. Al-fi'lu means in Arabic, the verb. Back to reading the book, Arabic Made Easy. Now, before we continue, there are many lessons in the book I skipped. And I skipped them for a reason. Because most of us, when we study something or we read something, that many times we say we go from page to page, page to page to page, from one chapter to the next chapter. And I'd like to mention, I'm skipping chapters in this book for a particular reason. And I skipped maybe about 4 or 5 chapters. Because the reason why I'm skipping these chapters is not because the lesson is not important, but you will not understand those particular chapters that I have skipped because some of those chapters is related to verbs. And the person who written the book, he didn't write the book the way the book is written, the way he patterned the book in English about Arabic grammar. He took the examples of Arabic books written in Arabic language by Arabic grammars for Arabic speakers, or those who know Arabic language, how they teach Arabic to Arabic speakers. And there's some things that an Arab will know when he comes to reading a book about Arabic language and grammar. There's some things that he already know from school, from the education system about Arabic language and Arabic grammar, and about reading and writing. So he took some of the methods of this way, and then he is not knowing that this book is not made. This book most likely is not going to be read, or those who are going to learn from this book is going to be Arabic speakers, going to be non-Arabic speakers. So there's some lessons that he gave before these chapters. It's talking about, like, for example, inna. Inna has a relationship with verbs. So it doesn't make sense me teaching you about inna and no one knows, there's no lessons before it about verbs, because inna and lu and some other lessons I've seen that he was talking about certain things. These things work with verbs. So it doesn't make sense teaching this without teaching verbs. And that's one of the things I criticize about this particular book, is that how it is organized. So it makes sense to teach you about verbs before I teach you about any of these things, because I teach you about inna and lu. And there's has inna wa akhawatuha. And a lot of these are particles, and they do work with verbs. So it doesn't make sense we going through some of these lessons and then, and he's not touching verbs. He should teach some of those lessons at the end of his lessons about verbs. So this is why I'm skipping these particular chapters. Back to the lesson. So the Arabic verbs are general composed of three radicals. Verbs composed of three radicals are called fi'lu thulathi. Three type of verbs. Thulathi means three, meaning that there's three letters in the verb. So verbs in their structure, or the way they structure, is going to be either three letters, which are the common used seen verbs, which only have three letters inside of them. The other one's going to be sometimes 2 and 4. 2 and 4. Like madda, marra. But in reality, there are three, but there's a shadda on the letter. But this is 2. So you write down 2 letters. And they're not common, but they exist. The common use or letters that you're going to see in the verb is going to be 3 letters. So this is why it says fi'lun thulatha, the 3 radical verbs or 3 letters in a verb. The verb fa'ala, which means he did, and is going to be the example used in any book about Arabic grammar. When I talk about patterns of Arabic, patterns for grammar, pattern for words, pattern for verbs, you're going to always use fa'ala, or they're going to use an actual verb like kataba. But when you talk about the pattern and how a verb is written, they're going to always use these 3 letters, fa, ayn, and lam. So the first example, which is fa'ala, which means he did, is adopted as a norm, meaning that it is a 3-letter verb. It is a 3-letter verb. The letter fa represents the first radical, means the first letter. Ayn or a represents the second radical, the second letter. And lam recognized the third. He writes the actual word, kataba, which means he wrote. Here you have the cat is the first letter, the first radical. Fa is the second. The kaf represents the fa, for example. And ta is the second radical, and it represents the ayn. And ba and kataba represents the lam, and fa'ala, which is the third radical. Simple talk, kataba, the kaf is the first radical, the ta is the second, and ba is the third. Make it very simple. Siga means example, pattern, form. Siga means pattern. It says siga or a partagon of a verb, it means pattern. Siga means pattern. Of a verb does not depend on the time of the action. Let me just cut the chase now. So in Arabic, we have with verbs past, present, and future. Past, present, and future. All right. So verbs in Arabic is only related to time. It's not the verbs is not a noun. It is not a particle. It is a verb. And it represents 3 times: past tense, present tense, and future tense. I'm going to write them down in Arabic, inshallah. Today, we're going to learn more about the past tense verb. Today, we're going to learn a little bit more about the past tense verb. The conjugation of verbs in Arabic language is not like the conjugation of verbs in the English language. One of our previous lessons related to ad-dama'ir. Ad-dama'ir. Dama'ir are pronouns. And the dama'ir is very important related to conjugating verbs. As I mentioned before in other previous lessons, if you don't master the lessons I've already given you, you will not understand this lesson. If you did not memorize the pronouns, then you're not going to understand some of the things I'm going to say. So going over the past lessons are very important, especially related to the verbs or the lessons related to pronouns. Because when you're going to conjugate verbs, you're conjugating verbs according to its pronoun. Today we're going to talk more about al-fi'lu al-madi, the past tense verb. This is what we're going to talk about today, inshallah. The past tense verb in Arabic, for example, fa'ala, which means he did. The word fa'ala, if you notice, the last letter, it is fixed with fatha. The last letter of the verb, it is fixed with fatha. Fa'ala, which means he did. It is past tense. So verbs in Arabic are dealing with 3 tenses. Fi madi, fi zaman, fi madi. Time related to the past. والمضارع. المضارع means now. والمستقبل. So for example, every past tense verb, it is fixed. The ending vowel is always fixed with fatha. It's not going to be a dhamma. It's always fixed with fatha. The rule could change from certain cases, but you need to just generally know it is mabni. It is fixed with fatha. It is fixed. Some rules in grammar could change due to a situation, but this is the general rule. It is fixed. Fa'ala. So we have, for example, kataba. Kataba, it is fixed. The ending vowel, it is fixed. It means he wrote. Fataha, which means he or it is open. And it's fixed on fatha. One of the signs of the past tense verb or any verb is that no verb accepts tanween. No verb accepts tanween. Let me write this down in English. No verb accepts tanween. No verb accepts tanween or alif and lam. Why not? Why no verb accept tanween or alif and lam? So something very important. Why does not a verb accept tanween and alif and lam? And this is where the previous lessons become very crucial in your comprehension and the usage of the Arabic language. Because anybody who studies Arabic grammar in the intermediate and advanced stage, learning Arabic and Arabic language, تعلم لغة عربية في عربية وتعلم لغة النحو في لغة عربية, or learning grammar in the Arabic language. These are the things that they talk about. Good. Aliyah says because it is a sign of nouns. And this is why alif lam, which means the, and tanween, which represents that the word is indefinite. Tanweens are the signs and the marks for asma. Barakallahu fi. Wait till later on to correct me because I don't want to lose my train of thought. Because when I finish each lesson, I go back and edit anything that I wrote. So wait till the end of the class for something to say something. I usually go back and I edit my writing at the end of the class. I don't want to lose my train of thought. So no verbs except tanween or alif lam, because alif and at-tanween or alamatu al-ism. They are the signs of ism, inshallah. They are the signs of ism. So we don't use them with verbs. So in Arabic grammar related to verbs, there's its own rules and it has its own signs and rules that are very different from al-ism. They are very different from the ism. For example, fa'ala. Fa'ala is a past tense verb. How I know that fa'ala is a past tense verb? Because the structure of the vowel at the end of it. From the structure. The ending vowel ending vowel for the past tense verb is going to be fixed with fatha. Be fixed with fatha. Let's go back now to the book Arabic Made Easy. Siga, which means form or pattern of a verb, does not depend on the time of the action. Tenses of verbs is therefore determined from the context. Arabic verbs are divided into two basic categories. They are verbs completed and verbs incomplete. Verbs completed generally indicates that the past of the verb is uncompleted, indicates the present or the future. A complete verb is known as fi'lu al-madi, the past tense of the verb. So that little section, it says Arabic verbs are divided into two categories, complete verbs and incomplete verbs. Don't worry about that. The way he's wording these things is confusing. Don't even pay attention to it. And learning Arabic language, one thing I have learned from my experience, my beginning stages learning Arabic grammar is from this particular book. But from later in life, studying Arabic and the Arabic language, I had learned and understand that it's better to understand Arabic language and Arabic. It's better to study Arabic grammar and Arabic because everything makes more sense. Everything makes a little bit more sense. The ways the rules are explained in the Arabic language by Arabic grammar makes more sense. I give you an example with myself. When I pick up a book in Arabic language, for example, if I'm reading a book about religion, I understand the concepts, correct? And when you read certain contexts, sometimes you might understand the context, sometimes you might not understand the context, depending on the vocabulary or the subject itself. Subject might be very hard. You will need a teacher. When I read now books in Arabic language about Arabic grammar, it's like reading a mathematical math. You ever see a program or a movie, for example, and they show you a guy, he's a scientist, for example. And this scientist, when they show him in the movies or in pictures, they show the guy on the board. And he's writing down these big math problems, right? So he's writing down these big math problems, and he's trying to solve them, equation, and he's trying to solve them. He writes them down. Well, in Arabic grammar, once you understand the terminology, you have the terminology, you understand how to use them. The way you see the scientists write this stuff in the pictures where they put them, when they go to explain Arabic grammar, or a scholar in grammar or teaching Arabic language explain Arabic grammar, this is how it looks like to me on the board. I'm not saying it's hard, but it makes more sense. So when you study Arabic grammar in English, only thing we're really looking for when we study it right now in English is simple explanation. If the explanation becomes difficulty, I always tell the student, forget it. If the person wrote it in English and it's hard, like for example, what is a complete and incomplete verb? We don't even, many of us in English language don't even know what this means in English. And it's apparent to me that he's talking about fi'lu al-ma'ruf or fi'lu al-majhul. But this concept right here, a person, many of us, especially us who've been to college, been to school, textbook guy, textbook girl, follow everything by the textbook. Sometimes some of these books that are written about Arabic language and English, like this particular book, it has a lot of good concepts, but sometimes the wording in English, I explain things, is very vague or difficulty or just vague. So if I'm skipping through something, don't worry about it. Because either I find that the way he explained it is confusing for the student, or I can explain it in a real simple, easy way. Al-fi'lu al-mudara. So he's talking about here, I'm sorry. So he said complete verbs is fi'lu al-madi, past tense verbs. And the verbs that are incomplete is called fi'lu mudara, future tense verbs. Don't worry about all of that. There's no about past tense verbs are called fi'lu madi. Present tense verbs are called fi'lu mudara. Right? Then we have something called al-fi'lu al-amr, which is the commandment verb. Now, the fi'lu mudara, the way it's written in Arabic, which we're going to get into, means present tense, and it could also mean future tense. The fi'lu amr, the commandment verb, which you'll learn later on, it means future tense. For example, I say you ijlis, sit down, and then you do the action after I said it. That is related to future tense, right? Fi'lu mudara is present tense verb, is related to talking about now, event that is happening now, at this moment. Past tense verbs, they talk about an action that happened in the past. It's not happening right now, but in the past. All right. Now, he's speaking about something called fi'lu al-madi, and fi'lu mudara may be either ma'ruf or majhur. Majhur. Ma'ruf means, I think we say it in English language, transit and in-transit verbs. Transit and in-transit verbs. We worry about some of these terminology in the next lessons, all right? In the next lessons, we'll worry a little bit more about their definition. Let's skip down where it says verbs. When a verb placed before the subject, the verb must be in the singular number, irresponsive or irresponsive, not irresponsive or respective of number of the subject. Okay. For example, I'm going to explain this a little bit better. Fa'ala Zaydun. Zayd did. Fa'ala Zayd wa Bakrun. Fa'ala Zaydun wa Bakrun. Zayd and Bakr did. Fa'ala Zayd wa Bakrun wa Amr. Zayd and Bakr and Amr did. So in this case, because the verb comes first, then it's in the what? It's in a singular form. I'm going to explain this a little bit more simple, inshallah. It says that verbs must agree with the subject and number and gender. If the subject be jamu muqassir, if the subject be a broken verb, a broken plural, then it may be either mu'annaf or mudhakkar. I can explain this a little bit better than him. So let's go back. Because what he's explaining, he should take some time to break it down. Well, I'll take my time to break it down. So as we said before, going to my notes now. I'm looking at my notes. I'm going to break it down a little bit better than this guy, the author. So we have, for example, verbs. And I mentioned that the pattern of the verb is going to be fa, ain, lam. So then we have here a past tense verb, fa'ala, which is a past tense verb. Fa'ala is a past tense verb. You see, it is fixed. It has the end of it fatha. That fatha doesn't change. Yaf'alu. Yaf'alu is the present tense verb, and it's changeable. The ending vowel is changeable. It could be sukun. It could be fatha. There's some particle. There's some type of particle that changes it. Well, we worry about that later on. You're not worried about that right now. So this is how I tell the difference. Fa'ala and yaf'alu. Fa'ala is the past tense verb. When I see the ending in the fatha, I know this is a past tense verb. Yaf'alu is a present tense verb. When I see it ending in like this, with the dhamma at the end, I know that this is a present tense verb or a future tense verb. The dhamma is the sign that is future or present or future tense. Okay? Fa'ala is a past tense verb and it's fixed on fatha. Yaf'alu is the present tense verb and it's fixed, and it's mu'rab, it's changeable. Then I wrote an example. The example I wrote is huwa fa'ala. So when you really see the word fa'ala, it really means huwa fa'ala. That pronoun, huwa, it is hidden, but it exists. It is hidden, but it exists. When I said the pronouns are very important, this is why pronouns are very important now related to verbs. Huwa fa'ala. So I put huwa fa'ala and I said it equals fa'ala. I don't have to say the word huwa. If I say just fa'ala, it means he did. If I wrote it, no problem. But that pronoun is there, but it's hidden. Huwa is a hidden pronoun. Fa'ala means he did. For talking about a human being. A non-living thing, they mean it did. The present tense, huwa yaf'alu. Huwa yaf'alu. He is doing. Huwa yaf'alu. It means yaf'alu. I don't have to write the pronoun down. The pronoun huwa is hidden, but that's the pattern, the way it looks like when I use the pronoun huwa. When I see fa'ala or yaf'alu, I know that means he did. Past tense or future. I wrote some examples, but we're going to talk about this later on. I already mentioned some of these things already. But I like to write down verbs conjugated with the pronouns. And this is what we're going to do with the past tense verb. I'm going to try to do my best in explaining this better than the actual teacher. If you go to lesson 28, the last lesson, it has fi'lu madi ma'ruf, transit verb. I think that's the meaning in English. The doer of the action is known. That's the best example to explain the meaning. So it gives you verbs conjugated on the end of the lesson. So I'm going to conjugate some of them. Huwa fa'ala. You know, there's some methods now, like in the book Arabiya Bain the Yadayik, when it comes to the conversation or conversational Arabic, that they don't teach the student how to conjugate all the verbs. You know, when I studied Arabic from the first day Arabic grammar from my teacher, and I went to school to study, all of them taught the students how to conjugate verbs. It's very important. I see some ways they're teaching now, like in the Arabiya Bain al-Yadayik, they're not teaching the student how to conjugate the verbs for conversation. So they use the conjugation for huwa and hiya, he and she, and anta wa anti, right? So today we're going to learn the past tense verbs, conjugating, or I can say tasrif fi'lu al-madi. Huwa fa'ala. Hiya. Fa'alat. Fa'alat. So look at it. Huwa fa'ala. He did. Hiya fa'alat. A second. It has sukoon. This ta here with the sukoon represents hiya. So now you notice this past tense verb in its conjugational form that for the pronouns, they are adding letters. You're going to start seeing for the pronouns on the verb, they're adding letters. Because as I mentioned before, when I start using the verb, I don't have to use that actual pronoun. It's already given when I say the verb. So fa'alat, for example, the ta represents here. Fa'alat. And it's with sukoon. It represents here. Skip a little space. So anta, which means you, fa'alta, fa'alta, you did, past tense. The ta here represents anta. So I don't have to write down this pronoun. I don't have to write it. But only writing it to show the student that the pronoun is already attached to the verb when I'm conjugating it. Fa'alta, you did. The ta represents anta. The next following example. Anti, fa'alti. Fa'alti equals anti. The ta here with kasra represents anti. I've written here a ta. This is how you write in Arabic language. The letters, the Arabic letters, you can spell them out in Arabic language. Not like English language. In English language, you can't spell out the letter A. I just write letter A. It's a vowel, right? A. In Arabic language, you can spell out the letters. So I spelled out the letter ta. All right? I spelled out the letter ta. So ana fa'altu. The ta with the dhamma, to, it means ana, I. It means ana, I. So you see in this book, the lesson right here where it has the pattern, how the verb is conjugated. You need to memorize this. You need to memorize this. You can't, how we say, just do without it. It's not going to happen. When I read Quran, I pick up the Quran, I pick up the Mus'haf. You're going to see verbs conjugated. You got to know this is a verb. What verb is this? Conjugated to what? Past or present. I mean, is the conjugation for past, present? Where's the pronoun? ذهب الله مثلا. Huh? Or darraba Allahu mathalan. Darraba Allahu mathalan. This is something in Balagha. A lot of people are not going to understand this. Because darraba means hit, but here it means something else. For example, a simple one that we would probably know. Amma yatasa'alun. That's one too. That's for mudara. ضرب الله مثلا في سورة البقرة. ضرب الله مثلا. All right, Allah says He give an example. Well, daraba means to hit, right? In Balagha, it means something. In eloquence in Arabic, it means something else. It means give an example, right? But so Allah used daraba Allahu, for example. When I look at this verb, I have to see, okay, where's this ayat in Quran? Where's this ayat? Is it a past tense verb, present tense verb? You got to know these patterns. You got to memorize them. You got to know them. You got to know them. You got to know them. The way I'm reading it here is just to show you what there are the pronouns on the letters. This is simply trying to show you to indicate where are the pronouns on the verb. Because when I'm writing down Arabic, when I'm reading, they're not going to come with the pronouns sometimes. Huwa fa'ala, hiya fa'alat. Not going to write it like that. Maybe in the beginning, teaching Arabic, some basic stuff, verbs to non-Arabic speakers or to kids, they're going to show you this. When I'm actually reading stuff in Arabic, and they're not going to come with this. And usually when they do write it, it's giving it some emphasis. And sometimes the pronoun comes after. For example, write your example on the bottom, inshallah. For example, akalatu. Alqatu ana ta'am. For example, I would say this is past. I ate food or the food. Alqatu ana. Using in Arabic, when Arabs use this, the pronoun with the verb is to give an indication. is to get emphasis. It's a form of emphasis or emphasizing something. We call it tawkid, or form of tawkid, emphasis, for example. I don't want to lose topic, but in general, when the Arabs write, they're not going to use the pronoun as we see it in the examples I'm giving you. Usually they give it to you like this. It's teaching you how to conjugate the verb and its pronoun. All right? If I say this in Arabic language, I understand. I'm giving emphasis. It is proper if I say ana akaltu ta'am. I understand what I'm saying. It is correct. It's not wrong. It is correct. But I'm going to say why you don't say akaltu ta'am. Akaltu ta'am. I ate food. Akaltu ta'am. I ate the food, for example. I don't have to say ana. But if I write it like this, akaltu ana ta'am, I'm giving some form of emphasis. But when I'm usually speaking, the person is speaking in Arabic, you're not going to use ana akaltu or huwa akala ta'aman. Huh? He ate the food, or the food is eaten. He's not going to really, the Arab, he's not going to say this. Maybe sometime in teaching Qira'at, teaching reading Arabic, teaching grammar, they're going to use the pronouns like this. But if I get into a book in Arabic, let's look in Quran real quick. Let's go look in Quran. I like to use the Google search when we on here. I really like the Saudi Tafsir online website because sometimes it gives little emphasis on the letters and stuff and the color coding. Sometimes. I just want to look at the Mus'haf. That's all I really want to do. Quran, Islam.com. Let me see what this one is. It's good enough. I don't want the Uthmani scripts. Let's look at. I like that Saudi site. I don't know why I can't find it right now. This is one of the Saudi sites. I just want to show you something. I just want to do a quick search in Quran. I guess we just use this. Let me see. I don't want this. I want this with manuscripts. I should just save the site so when we need it, I just bring it up. I forgot I can't even do word searches on this site. But here we go. فمن شرح الله صدره الإسلام فهو على نور من ربهم فويل للقاسية قلوبهم من ذكر الله أولئك في ضلال مبين الله نزل. Here we go. ضرب الله مثلا رجلا فيه شركاء. Let's copy paste this. And this one, anything. Let's copy this. Here we go. Let's use this. All right. So here we're going to use this in our notes. Just want to show you something. And all I just want to do is show. I'm not going to focus on the meaning, but I just want to show you. This word right here, sharaha, sharaha. Sharaha means to explain. It means to explain. Sharaha Allahu sadrahu al-Islam. Basically, Allah have given in their heart, in their chest, the Islam, explaining to them at-ta'lil, right? Or tafsir, or fassara. So here it says Sharaha Allahu. Allah is the fa'il, is the subject, right? And the ending in Dhamma. We learn about this later on. But you notice, it didn't say huwa sharaha Allah. It didn't say huwa. The sharaha, Allah takes the place of huwa. Allah is talking about here, Allah, for example. فَهُوَ عَلَى نُورٌ مِّن رَبِّهِ. So here, another part of the ayat. Allahu nazala ahsana al-hadithi. Allahu nazala ahsana al-hadithi. I can change this. So here in this ayat, it didn't say huwa. Allah represents the huwa. Because huwa is the what? Second person, right? Huwa represents the second person. I got it. Allahu nazala. It didn't say Allahu huwa nazala. Even though I could write that in Arabic. It could be said, but it could be emphasis. So we have to know the verb when we see it. And we have to know that nazala, for example, is talking about Allah. Right? I just want to see something that's conjugated. Conjugated, another verb conjugated. Just give me a second. Kanu is conjugation. Kadaba is another verb. Yattaqa is another verb. Su'al al-adab yawm al-qiyamah. Wakila, another verb. Wakila li dhalimina. وَذُوقُوا مَا كُنْتُمْ تَكْسِبُونَ وَكَذَّبَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ فَأَتَاهُمُ الْعَذَابُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. SubhanAllah. It's very important, Quran. Arabic language is very important. Just reading this ayat, it's just hitting me. Allah is hitting us. You know, I'm just reading this ayat, looking for something for us, but just reading the ayat. Verbs everywhere. Qadaba, right at this point. قَذَبَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. And they disbelieve or did not believe in those who disbelieve. مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ, before them. فَآتَاهُمْ عَذَابٌ, come to them adhab. مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا تَشْعُرُونَ, Allah give them a punishment from a place where they won't perceive it coming. So how many verbs I explained? قَذَبَ is one verb. La yash'urun is another verb. فَأَذَاقَهُمْ Allah, another verb. خُشْيٌ فِي حَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا وَلَا عَذَابُ الْآخِرَةِ. I was looking for قَانُ, another verb. يَعْلَمُونَ, another verb. Here we go. What I'm looking for. Something conjugated now. We didn't learn this one yet. We're going to learn it now. Here we go. Before I teach you that one, read that ayah, let me teach you the conjugation for nahnu, for we. Then I explain it. Inshallah. كتب الله على نفسه الرحمة. Allah written upon himself the rahmah, the mercy. كتب Allah written. نحن. Sometimes I'm not going to write the sukoon. Sometimes I will write it. But when reading Arabic, many times in Arabic language, they don't write sukun. I need to explain this too, inshallah. Let me finish writing this. All right, so nahnu, which means we. Nahnu means we. So nahnu, fa'alna. The nun wa alif means na represents nahnu, we, right? Fa'alna, right? The nun wa alif represents nahnu. Let me just put this in quotations so people can see this is separate. So I don't want people confused. That's better. All right, nahnu, fa'alna. So fa'alna means we. So here's the ayat. لقد ضربنا للناس في هذا القرآن من كل مثال لعلهم يتذكرون. So we give the people in this Quran in every example, and perhaps they will remember, right? Perhaps they will remember. وَلَقَدْ. So ضربنا, and indeed. ضربنا. I wish I could take away this underlining. I don't know how to do this. لقد ضربنا. What do I do here? ضربنا. لقد ضربنا. Oh, I took out the verb by accident. What do I do here? There's an undo button here. No, there sure isn't. Let's copy that again. I should use Google next time. Daraba means he hits, or means here to give example. It means to strike, to hit. In the ayat in Quran, it has another meaning. And we know in Arabic language that one word can have 2 or 3 meanings. So daraba means he hit. So Allah says, darabna. Darabna. So it is noon aleph, darabna, which means nahnu, strike us, strike, or give example. Here in the ayah means to give example. Laqad, indeed, darabna linnas fi hadha al-Qur'ani min kulu mathalan la'allahum yattadhakkarun. So Allah says, and indeed, we give to the people in this Quran from every example, and perhaps they will remember. So yadhakkarun. Even that tense here, I can't talk about that now because you guys is not ready for that. Right here, they're not ready. You're not ready for that, but you're ready for this. I don't want to give too many examples because, you know, I know many people. I know when the first time I learned about verbs in Arabic many years ago, I mean, this was so confusing, verbs. So I'm not going to talk too much because even that ayah is dropping some other things, other verbs. I want to show you something, but I know I keep on forgetting verbs. It's not easy in the beginning for many people to understand the concepts of verbs. But I just wanted to show you some examples of verses in Quran. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to write it all out, all the conjugation, unless the people need it. Unless the people need me to write out all the conjugation. It's already given in the book. You have to memorize, not should, but we have to memorize them. You want to be a good student, a good, strong student, you must memorize these patterns. You're not going to understand the Arabic language. As you see me reading the ayat in Quran, I'm reading from the tafsir. I can sit down. I don't need a translation of Quran. I don't have to go to the translation of Quran and many of these verses in Quran. And if I don't know something from even in here, a word or so, I just look in the tafsir in Arabic. Even sitting here, where I can explain this for men. And so, sharaha Allahu sadrahu. So, and Allah is asking the question, this for men, for who? Sharaha Allahu sadrahu, for he who Allah explain or give or show or explain the Islam in their chest. في صدره الإسلام. For who ala nur, he is upon the light. Min rabbihim, he has light from his Lord. For wailun, woe, li qasiyatu qulubuhum, woe to those who have hardened hearts. Min dhikrillah, those who have hardened hearts from the mentioning or the remembrance of Allah. Ulaika fi dalalin mubin, those are the ones who are very astray or openly astray. Because I understand verbs. Even this word, when I first seen it, I look at the verb. It's not a verb, it's a noun. I look at the root of it. Oh, I know this means hardened hearts, to harden something. Dhikrullah comes from dhaqara, which means to mention. But here is an ism. From the remembrance of Allah, ulaika, our vocabulary words. Al-ismu al-ishara. Ismu al-ishara. Or asma al-ishara. Ulaika, our vocabulary word. Fi dalalin mubin. Allah nazala. Allah, he sent down. Aksana al-hadith, the best speech. Kitaban, the best speech. The book, the Quran. Mutashabbiha, Mutashabbiha means like some ayats are clear, some ayats mean here, some ayats that which not clear. Mathani wa naqsha'ir. That word I will have to look up. To naqsha'ir. I will look up a tafsir, Arabic to Arabic. Actually, this is a tafsir. This right here. If I didn't understand this ayat, this particular word, I just click on it. I look up the tafsir. It should take me to the tafsir, this particular ayat. There's different type of tafsir. Some tafsir explain the meaning. Some tafsir explain the vocabulary. Mutashabiha yakulu yushabbuhu ba'duhum ba'd la iktilaf fihi. Meaning that some of the ayats, they're clear and there's no difference in it. Right? So that's clear for me, that meaning this particular ayat. Wa nazala aqsan al-hadithi kitabun mutashabbiha. Ayat mutashabbiha ayat. Wal harf mutashabbiha. It means some things are clear to some people understand some ayats and some people don't understand certain ayats. Right? Meaning some people who are not from the Ahlul Ilm. All right. Hadithin. الكتاب متشابها قال متشابها يشبه بعض من بعض وحديث ابن حميد. I want to skip that. I'll just read نصل حديث كتاب. I'm looking for the other meaning. Here we go. مثاني الكتاب الله مثاني ثانا فيه أمر. Praising it is the commandments or the commandments. Marara is talk about many of the different praise or commandments of Allah, something like this. Here we go. This is the word. وقولوا تقشعر منهم جلود الذين يخشون ربهم. يقول تعالى ذكر تشير من سماء نزل تأتي عليهم جلد الذين لا يخافون ثم تلين جلودهم وقلوبهم إلى ذكر الله. Like people who maybe are frightened, maybe those who are frightened, who fear, have fear for Allah. When they hear about Allah, tasha'ir, I have to look up that word. I have to look up maybe in the Arabic to Arabic dictionary. Or another tafsir explain the ayat. Because it's tough to really explain the ayats verse by verse. من هو الجلود الذين يخشون ربهم ثم تلين جلودهم وقلوبهم إلى ذكر الله. Those who shake in their body, they shake from the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the fear of their Lord. Okay, that's what understand what it means. Hey, I'm able to do this because of Arabic, because I understand verbs. Even that particular word, I could go look up in a dictionary, Arabic to Arabic dictionary, or even the translation. I look up the root of the meaning of the word, that particular word, which is a verb. One of the major important things of learning these particular lessons about verbs, and I forgot to mention it, is now when you go to study Arabic, I'll give you the link, inshallah. I'll post the link, Sister Aliyah, of this tafsir for us. Right, in the Arabic language, I'm sorry, in the verbs, why the verbs are very important. I forgot to mention that in the beginning. Another reason why knowing verbs and the signs of verbs is because now when it's going to words and looking up words and understanding vocabulary in Arabic, for example, that particular word I didn't know, if I was going to look it up in a dictionary, most likely I'll look it up by the root of the word, which is going to be a verb most likely. In most cases, it's going to be a verb, right? Me understanding the ayahs that I was just reading from the Quran. Because I understand verbs. I know the root meaning of a lot of these words, which are verbs. And there's a lot of verbs in each ayat. Some ayats have two, 3 verbs inside of them. Some ayats have 1. Some have 2 verbs in them. When I'm reading it. Here. فَمَنْ يَتَّقَى بِوَجْهِهِ سُوءُ الْعَذَابِ. All right, فَمَنْ يَتَّقَى بِوَجْهِهِ سُوءُ الْعَذَابِ يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. All right, so yattaqi, there's another verb. It means to fear or to protect. It means fear, to have taqwa, or it can mean here to protect. But there's a shadda here. وَيَتَّقِي بِوَجْهِهِ سُوءُ سوء العذاب يوم القيامة وقيل للظالمين ذوقوا ما كنتم تكسبون. وذلك الهدى من الله. Here, even up here. Sorry. الحديث متشابهة مثانية تقشعر منهم جلود الذين يخشون. And the people, I guess, their skin, they shiver or they shake from the remembrance of Allah, thinking about the meanings of certain things, ayats from Quran, things about Allah. وَيَخْشُونَ رَبَّهُمْ, another verb, and they fear, يَخْشُونَ, they have humility, have fear for their Lord. ثُمَّ تَالِينَ جُلُودَهُمْ وَقُلُوبَهُمْ إِلَى ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ ذَلِكَ هُدَى Allah, that's the guidance of Allah. وَيَهْدِي بِهِ, and He guide with it مَنْ يَشَاءُ, who He will. وَمَنْ يُضْلِلْ اللَّهُ فَمَا لَهُ مِنْ هَادٍ. Allah guide who He wills, and Allah misguide who He wills. That's a rough translation. So when I'm looking at the ayat in Quran, these different verses, because of verbs, conjugated verbs, I understand. Here, I'm sorry, this verse I mentioned, how many verbs I see here? Hold on. تقشعر, this is one verb. منهم جلود الذين يخشون, that's two verbs. يخشون ربهم, their Lord. ثم تعلين جلودهم وقلوبهم إلى ذكر الله ذلك هدى الله, that is the guidance of Allah. ويهدي, another verb. به من يشاء, another verb. ومن يضلل الله, and Allah misguide, astray those who didn't, He will. فما له من هاد, He misguide those who have no guidance, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in these these two verses, how many verbs we have? I'm sorry, I lost my count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Within 2 verses, 7 verbs. 7 verbs. So verbs are very, very important. فَمَنْ يَتَّقَى وَجْهَهِ سُوءَ الْأَذَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ, and whoever turn his face, فَمَنْ يَتَّقَى بِوَجْهِهِ, turn his face, the same punishment of the day of judgment. وَكِيلَ لِلظَّالِمِينَ, and it would say to those wrongdoers, ذُوقُوا, another verb. ذُوقُوا, amr, commandment, that you would taste. ذُوقُوا مَا كُنْتُمْ تَكْسِبُونَ, taste from what you have earned. You earned because of their sins. وَقَدَّبَ, another verb. الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ فَأَتَاهُمْ, another verb. فَأَتَاهُمُ الْعَذَابُ, will come to them our punishment. مَحَيْتُ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ, from a place where they would not perceive. That's one verb. أَتَى. يَشْعُرُونَ, another verb. So when I'm reading here in the Quran, you're gonna get verbs. This is verbs, you can't get away from verbs in Quran. You can't get it. You have to learn them. And the verbs here are conjugated, past tense, present tense, commandments, future tense, related to the commandment being conjugated. So that's what we're gonna learn in the coming weeks and months. Verbs. We're gonna go every lesson in this book about verbs. And the next book, Learning Arabic Language of Quran, that particular book, when we finish Arabic Made Easy, the lessons on the verbs here, and things related to the verbs, then we're going to go to the language of the Quran, that particular book, to learn about the different forms of verbs, because a lot of things about verbs, what they mean, the conjugation, how they mean, what this form means. For example, kadhaba is different from the word. I'm trying to highlight it first. because you have a verb in form 1, form 2, form 3, form 4, form 5, things between 7 and 10. Allahu alam. I can't remember exactly right now. But even here, kadaba, that's the second form. It's not like kadaba. Kadaba means to lie about something. Kadaba, the shadda in the middle of the verb, it has a totally different meaning now. It means to disbelieve. وَقَدَّبَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ, and those who disbelieve from before them, فَأَتَاهُمْ عَذَابُ, and it come to them, they will be getting a punishment. مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ, they will be given a punishment in a place where we're not perceived. لَا يَشْعُرُونَ, this is a present tense verb, and it's conjugated for whom in present tense. So we didn't learn that today. We're going to get there. First, you got to learn the conjugation for the past tense verb, because there's so many things about verbs and its conjugation. It's not easy. It's not hard. It is, some people see it as difficulty, but if you learn it the right way, memorizing the patterns, memorizing the forms, memorizing the conjugation according to those pronouns, then it becomes very, very easy. So this is going to be the homework. The homework's going to be I didn't even write the pronouns with it. I must just do this tomorrow and write it out, the pronouns. Maybe I write it out tomorrow. Maybe I write it out tonight. What I'm going to do is I want you to write out 10 times the conjugation like you have here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the pronouns with it, inshallah. Either tonight or I get up in the morning, inshallah, after Fajr, because I'm at my job, at the masjid where I work at. I have a lot of time between now and tomorrow. Tomorrow I have some kids in the daytime, but I'm going to try my best to write it out. Maybe tomorrow night we have another class. I will write out all the conjugation with its pronouns, because I'm just looking here right now and they didn't even put the pronouns with the conjugation. It's put mudakka, which is masculine, which is feminine. You need to know more than that. You need to know the actual pronoun. I will write it all out, inshallah. And that's going to be the homework that you're going to copy it down and you're going to write it. For those who don't know it, you're going to write it out 10 times. That's how you're going to memorize it and master it 10 times. Because once you got that, you read it out, you have it memorized, then we go to the present tense verbs. Then after that, we go over the present tense verb. Then I teach you the commandment form of the verb and its conjugation. Once we got that, we understand that, and I can teach you about weak verbs. Weak letters in the verbs, and the conjugation will start changing a little bit different. A letter will change in the present tense verb. The conjugation in the present tense term will change with weak letter verbs. And it's going to be more. Then after that, there's more than that. And there's going to be other lessons, more lessons on verbs. You understand? You're going to get deeper and deeper about verbs. And we need to know all these things about verbs just to be able to read Quran, understand Arabic, read books in Arabic, dialogue in Arabic. We must understand about conjugation of verbs and how to what we call it tasrif, inshallah. Yes, and somebody wants this website. All right. Any questions? I put in the link. Any questions? Inshallah. Anybody have any questions? Let me know. This is the time for questions. Any questions? I'm waiting. We'll take about 2 or 3 questions and we get in the class. Just any questions? Don't worry about that now, because for the future tense, present tense, and future tense, is the present. You learn about that more when we learn about conjugating the present tense verb fi'l mudari. We'll explain that more in detail. I want to explain it now because no one here knows nothing about the conjugation of present tense verbs, which are fi'l mudari, and in the future tense verbs, which is fi'l mudari, its form, and the amr, the commandment verb, and its conjugation. Many people are not ready for that, but I did mention that, yes. But the present tense form being dhamma in the case of the mudari, which we didn't learn yet. That's why they get deep into detail about it, because we don't know nothing about conjugating the past tense verbs. Because some people who know a little bit about Arabic are going to get confused, because some commandment verbs don't have a dhamma on it. And then some people think the commandment verb is the only future tense, which is not true. The present tense form of a verb, like for example, yaf'alu, could talk about the future tense. And sometimes I'll add an article, meaning a letter on it, or a word, sawfa, wasim, sayaf'al, right? Like in Surah An-Naba, the first few ayats, we have this example. Let me see, can we go there right now? كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون. No one's ready. We're not ready for that because we don't know how to conjugate the past tense verb. Even the previous ayahs I gave you, we was reading, I was explaining some of the meanings, showing you the verbs and stuff. Let me go back to that page. Some of the present tense verbs, the way it's conjugated, is talking about future tense. Some of them, 1 or 2 of them, I was reading somewhere. I think 1 of them, I can't remember. Let me see, can I find it real quick? Let me see. I think, let me go. Then look at the Iraq Quran. I don't want the Iraq, but this I have. Which one? Yes, one. That's Philip Mudara. No, it's not that one. There's one of them. I can't remember right now. But in Surah An-Naba, We have one seen will let us solve for some of the things, but we're not ready for that in the class. You mentioned the fi'l mudar and the fi'l madi and the istaqbal, but not the amr. Will it be dealt with later? I'm not dealing with that now because this is beginner class. People are not ready. People not ready for none of that. I give it little by little. People here can't take it all at the same time. Because the thing about the amr, the mudara, if you can't conjugate the verb, you don't know nothing about conjugation. And for those students, in the past class lessons I gave, if you didn't memorize all the pronouns, you're gonna have a lot of problems. If you didn't memorize all the pronouns, huwa, hiya, anta, anti, you didn't memorize that, you're gonna have a lot of problems. I go to the conjugation. So I'm gonna give you guys who didn't memorize it. Ali, did you memorize it? Anybody who didn't memorize it, I'm gonna give them an opportunity to memorize it. Maybe next Friday I'll continue. I won't continue tomorrow. Unless some people gotta memorize those pronouns. Because if you don't know the pronouns, and I'm gonna go explaining the verbs and conjugation of verbs, you're going to be lost. You're going to be lost. Lost. That's why I'm running like this here. That's why I'm running it just like this on my notes. You got to memorize? You're missing somebody. Who are we missing? Lily. Missing one person. I don't think she's here. I believe Lily is missing. So Ali, you memorized it? And good. And tomorrow I'll do the whole conjugation for past tense. We could meet tomorrow. Any more questions? Okay. You also said a word is a verb by the structure of fata at the end of the word. Is that correct? Yes. Past tense verb. Past tense verb only. And that rule could, in some cases, be changed. But the general rule, yes. The past tense verb, not present. Past tense verb, it is fixed on fatha. I have two goals, inshallah. The two goals are, if we complete the lessons related to verbs in both of these two books that we're doing, inshallah, they're going to take time. I say 6 months. I say less than 6 months. Maybe 1 month, 2 months. Because I think we have a lot of lessons now. We have 12 lessons, 12 videos we have. MashaAllah, that's a lot. Believe it or not, 12 videos is a lot, mashallah. We have 12 lessons completed. each one of the videos longer than an hour, right? And it's only doing for once a week, right? So I'm trying to estimate. I think maybe another 3 months, inshallah, we'll be finished with both books, the lessons in the book. Inshallah, give it 3 to 4 months. My goal is, in the middle of finishing what is important about verbs, I'll probably start going over, learning how to look up words in the Handswear dictionary. Because I'm trying to increase some of my vocab and review some vocab. So I will teach people how to use it, and we'll take a glimpse through the dictionary of Handswear, how to look up words, how to use the dictionary, pick up some vocab. And then one thing I'll do that in the middle when we finish understanding past tense, present tense, verb, and weak letters, verbs that have weak letters and the conjugation. Then we will go over the Handswear, right? When we complete everything, meaning the 2 books that we're doing now, Arabic Made Easy and Learning the Language of Quran, when we finish that, inshallah, then we're going to go over Al-Jurumiyya, inshallah. But the thing I want to do is these 2 books that we're using now, they don't explain well or in an order that's certain type of rules, like inna wa akhawatuha, wa kana wa akhawatuha, wa mubtada wa khabar. They don't explain it well because in the beginning of the book, they didn't come with verbs. And verbs is essentially understanding inna wa akhawatuha, wa kana wa akhawatuha, for those who already understand this term, what I'm saying. But it's something that's very important terms and things that we have to learn that these 2 books don't explain well. But once we finish the verbs, I will go over those lessons. We'll teach us those lessons, certain things about numbers, but we'll go between, I think, Al-Jurumiyya and Medina Book 1, and maybe another book for non-Arabic speakers, another curriculum, and then we'll go over Al-Jurumiyya, right? And most likely I will have my own sharh, or I will summarize the sharh of Tusaniyat Al-Jurumiyya. I will not go over the sharh of Sheikh Uthaymeen, which is very famous, but it's too long. It's too long. And the reality of Al-Jurumiyya is really 3 pages. It's too long. So the Sheikh Uthaymeen sharh is too long, but the sharh of Tusaniyat Al-Jurumiyya is good, and I will probably summarize that sharh, and we'll go over like Al-Jurumiyya, and we'll learn some other things. Inna wa akhawatuha, wa kana akhawatuha. Because Al-Jurumiyya is a very good introduction. You're going to see everything you learned from me already from these 2 books. You're going to see it right there in Al-Jurumiyya, inshallah. Any other questions? Is that sister here, Sister Saleha? Good. Barakallahu fikum. All right. So any of the future lessons that I'm going to teach that's not in the book, if you go to the note section, I have written in the note section some of these lessons already, but it's not in English. It's in Arabic. What I have in Arabic, that's basically my lesson plan, what to teach, what we need to know. All right. So some of the future things we're going to learn that's not in the book, I already written them in the note section of this book. in the note section of this Madrasa al-Ula. And then when we finish these lessons of the verbs in both books, then we're going to do some other things, inshallah, because I think once you got the verbs understood and have vocabulary and have the verbs understood, understand the different forms, then it's really time to go now and go in the books in Arabic. It's time to leave some of these English books explaining Arabic grammar and look into some of that books in Arabic, understanding Arabic language. But we need to have some we don't even need vocab. You just need to know understand grammar, and the vocab going to come as we go. The vocab come as we go. The vocab comes as the curriculum that we're using, the vocab that we learn like this, and going over the hands where dictionary, we get the vocab. When we go over certain curriculum, we're going to get the vocab. The curriculum that's in Arabic, we're going to get the vocab and things like that. Right? But we must master the lessons in Arabic, on the verbs. We got to master them. And all the previous lessons, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a day just to review. Inshallah. And in the verb classes, we're going to have to find days to review. So maybe on Saturdays, I'm going to do a review day. It's going to be on a Saturday night, the same time, Saturday night. And we have those recordings here that are recorded. We can always go back to the recordings from other lessons. But if I'm going to do a revision or review something through video, I'm going to wait, or I'm going to do it a little bit more organized, straight to the point, not asking really many questions. Maybe I will do some pre-recordings, then just upload them, maybe make them like 5-10 minutes, right? Real short, straight to the point, so the students could go back and just listen to that audio, which is the video for 5 and 10 minutes, or the audio for 5 and 10 minutes, and then that's the review right there. This is my type of lesson I might do, inshallah. So we're in subhanakallahumma bihamdik wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. And any questions, you can inbox me here. And those who have my email can send me email, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.